Okay, so this is a video of me trying to fix my Nintendo Switch Pro controller. Now, this controller has a problem with the control sticks because, as you can see here, I might switch right over here. And if I tilt this, you can see that it is centered because I tried calibrating it. And if I move the stick, you can see that the circle illuminates except for the bottom portion. So as you can see here, it doesn't quite go over to the edge, so it doesn't trigger the circle. And that becomes a problem in games that require precise control of the control stick. So if I reset this back into default settings by pressing Y, you'll see that the stick goes all the way to the top right, even though I'm not actually touching the stick. So it won't actually go anywhere else other than the top right quadrant of the circle. So if I try and calibrate this, there we go. And as you can see here, it still doesn't reach the bottom part of the circle. So we're back to where we started. And the right control stick actually has a similar problem. So because this is an official Nintendo accessory, I thought maybe I could send it to Nintendo for a fix. And this is what they sent back. This is a receipt of the repair. And it's in Korean, but I'll try and translate it to English. So it says, the Switch Pro controller was made by a third party, and therefore it's not considered something that they can fix. And I was like, that's really weird, because I'm pretty sure that this is an official Nintendo accessory, unless I got a fake, right? And then I read the note that was attached right underneath it, and it says, the Nintendo of Korea After Service Center will only fix things that are released by Nintendo of Korea. Now, that's the complicated part, because I actually bought this Nintendo Switch and this Pro Controller back when I was in China. And I bought this off of this marketplace called Jingdong, which is supposed to be like the Amazon of China. I'm not too sure. I'm not Chinese. Also, as far as I'm aware, Nintendo doesn't actually sell anything in China. Like, the Chinese gaming industry isn't really active, I'd say. I don't think the Chinese government really likes people playing games. So even consoles like Xbox and PlayStation are not very common in China, as far as I'm aware, because they have all those draconian rules about what kind of games you can play and what kind of content is allowed. There's a lot of censorship and whatnot in China, so a lot of game publishers say, you know what, screw this, we're not going to release our games to China. And a lot of console makers are like, you know what, not a lot of game publishers are publishing in China anyway. Why do we need to release our consoles there? But I know that there is a marketplace for Switch users in China because Jingdong sells it. And when I looked up the serial number of this console, I actually figured out that this was being imported from Japan. So this is what I'm guessing. I'm guessing that Jingdong actually buys these consoles and these accessories from Japan, and then has them shipped over to China so that regular users can enjoy it. Now, there are two possibilities. The first one is the one that I mentioned previously. So this is made by Nintendo of Japan, and Nintendo of Korea, by this note, does not deal with anything that was made outside of our country, which is quite... it doesn't make sense, right? But you'd think a company as big as Nintendo would offer worldwide support, but apparently no. Or the second one is Jingdong actually sold me a fake, which I don't think it is very likely, because as far as I can tell, it behaves like an official Nintendo product. It doesn't feel cheap, but again, it might be a really good fake, and I might not be able to tell the difference. But I'll try and open it up today, and I'll see if I can repair this thing. I actually have my iFixit guide available here, so I'm going to try and follow this guide to disassemble the controller and see if I can get a replacement stick soldered on. Now, the analog sticks on the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, as you'll see in just a moment when I disassemble this, is actually soldered onto the motherboard inside of this controller, which sucks because you need to have a soldering iron and good soldering skills to basically remove joysticks from the Pro controller. Whereas the Joy-Cons on the side of the Nintendo Switch, these ones actually have a separate module for the control sticks. So you can just take out the module and then replace it when it starts to drift or whatnot. But here you need to actually desolder it, which sucks. So I'm going to try and take it apart on this blue mat, and we'll go from there. Oh, it doesn't stick. It doesn't stick. Wow. Is this fake? Why is it not sticking? Huh. Did it lose the magnetism? No, it does stick. Okay, so this is non-ferrous, so it doesn't actually stick, which sucks. We'll get this out of the way then. I mean, I don't think that this is a fake Pro Controller at this point, because even the battery has an official Nintendo logo on the top. And I don't think fakes would go to that length. So actually, I just think it's Nintendo being Nintendo and being a jerk and refusing to offer warranty services on international products. That kind of sucks. Have a deep seat. Okay. Oh, okay. So I'm at the part where you need to remove those two screws over here, and they're really deep in, so I'm not sure if my screwdriver will fit. It actually won't. Screw it. I'm gonna try and use this because it has a deeper shaft. Hi, Editing Eric here, and this is the part where you get to see me realize that none of the screwdrivers that I own actually fit inside the deep-seated holes that the iFixit guy was talking about in the Pro Controller chassis. So in this beautifully sped up clip, you can see me go through the 5 stages of grief before succumbing to capitalism. I think I'm stripping it. It's actually getting stripped each time I try and open it up. So okay, so I'm gonna have to stop here, and I'm going to have to find a screwdriver for those 2 holes. And it looks like I have to shell out $10 for this screwdriver set, as you can see here on the bottom. These are the ones that I need. The number 0 screwdriver. I know the iFixit page, it actually asks for Phillips number 1 screwdriver, but I can actually find it, and I'm pretty sure that the number 1 screwdriver is the same size as the number 0 screwdriver, so I'm going to try and get 6 and 7. I got the screwdriver set right over here, and I took out the number 0 screwdriver. I know the guide, again, this one works, even though the guide calls for a number 1 screwdriver, so let's see. I mean, looking at this motherboard, let's get it to focus. It doesn't really look like a fake, as far as I can tell. It matches up with the iFixit photo. Even the silkscreen markings are the same. So I doubt that this is a fake product that Jingdong sold. So. Alright, so in this sped up clip you can see me disassemble my Switch Pro controller even more and flip over the main board so I could get to the solder points on the other side. Desoldering this was actually a bit hard because I didn't have a ton of experience with my desoldering tools, but once I got the hang of it, it was pretty easy desoldering the other joystick on the left side. You can see right now I'm trying to desolder the right one, but it isn't working. The trick I found was to not let the soldering iron get too far away from the solder point, because once you do that, the solder will solidify and you won't be able to get it out with the sucker. And also, you might notice that the camera is focusing a lot on my hand. That's because I forgot to set autofocus lock. I should probably remember not to do that again next time. And the entire process took about an hour. I suspect it'll take about like 30 minutes for you if you don't have to worry about the camera. So let's skip to the part where I finish soldering up the 2 replacement joysticks. I think we have it fixed. We have the 2 joysticks reattached. And I'll continue recording after I've eaten breakfast and cleaned this up. One thing to note, please make sure you wash your hands, because all that lead residue on there, if you consume it, then it'll go inside your body and it'll stay there forever, and then you might become brain dead. So do make sure to not consume lead. That would be not good. So now that we have everything soldered up correctly, it's time for reassembly. Okay, so we have the successfully assembled Switch Pro controller here. You can see that it pairs successfully to my Switch that's in the back there. Now, before I go and test out the Pro controller with my Switch, I want to see what actually failed inside of the potentiometers inside the original joysticks. So let's see if we could take this apart. There we go. As far as I can tell, I don't see anything that may have contributed to why the potentiometers would have failed. No. Okay, so this one has the exact same U-shape. So either it failed in the exact same way, or it's supposed to be like that. It's a design choice. You can kind of see a bit of gunk buildup on the bottom there. I don't know if it's it wearing off from normal use, or if it's because I wrenched this joystick off of the board. That might be the reason why there might be a little fault lines over here. But yeah, I can't seem to pinpoint the exact issue. And yeah, exactly the same thing. A broken kind of circle. And again, I don't know if this is supposed to be like this. Okay, moment of truth. Oh, it looks like none of the control sticks are working. Well, that sucks. Oh, nope, it is working. Okay, we just need to calibrate it. Back to default settings. 8. Okay, it does that thing again. Let's try and calibrate it. Okay, so that is a problem because it appears that none of the two sticks will calibrate properly because it won't reach the end. As you can see here, it won't go to the end enough so that it would trigger the triangle. Which sucks. Which means I'll have to go through this whole process again once I get joysticks that aren't trash. Is it worth my time though? Let's see. Let's check this out together. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the economics of replacing these joysticks, because a brand new Pro Controller costs about 60 bucks. I know this is in Korean won, but just drop the last three digits as a ballpark, and you'll be pretty much within the ballpark, right? So 60 bucks for a brand new controller. I spent about 20 bucks getting the replacement parts, about 20 bucks for the entire soldering kit. You could probably get it for cheaper depending on where you shop at. I got it from our local hardware store. If you have something like Radio Shack, I'm not sure if that exists in the US anymore. You could probably get it for cheap. But that costs about 20 bucks, right? So let's say it costs 20 bucks. And this joystick module, these will cost 10 to 20 bucks as well. So that's already 20 to 40 bucks spent. If we assume the worst and it costs about 40 bucks, then it means that your time must be worth less than 20 bucks for you to replace the joysticks in here and not just buy a brand new one. And you don't really have to buy the Pro Controller. I mean, the Pro Controller sucks, right? Because it will always have a drift issue. And once you just leave it there, the potentiometers will probably rub off and I'll experience this issue again, which means it's not economical to repair this. This is just manufactured e-waste because Nintendo decided to be Nintendo and not put these in modules that can be easily user replaceable, instead opting to make it soldered to the freaking motherboard, which means that you need to buy new potentiometers and then test them out and then, run into the same exact issue that I have where the sticks will have reduced movement and then replace them again and again and again. Every time there is a problem with your joysticks, be it a drifting issue or whatnot, if it's not calibrating because the joysticks are bad because you bought a really cheap eBay one. And that's the thing, right? Because none of the sellers could probably sell an OEM part without getting sued to hell by Nintendo, they will probably sell a compatible third-party joystick, and these won't be good as the OEM parts. Even if they're sold by iFixit, like it's not certified by Nintendo, so you can't actually guarantee that it'll work on this Pro Controller. Like with my Switch over here, as you can see, it still has that problem where it's going to the top right. And I'm actually starting to think that it's not the problem of the joysticks; it's actually the motherboard of the Pro Controller, because at default settings, I don't think that it should go to the top right like this. I think it should stay in the center or be slightly misaligned, not go full on right to the top right side, right? So I think the motherboard in this thing is faulty, and that means I don't think I am willing to sink time into this anymore when other alternatives exist. Like, here, let's put this aside for a moment. So let's see what kind of comparable controllers there are that I could purchase. And here's the 8BitDo Ultimate Bluetooth controller. It's compatible with my Switch and other computers and whatnot, and it only costs about 40 bucks. I know this is in one, again, drop to the last three digits, and you'll get about a similar ballpark, right? So it doesn't make sense to repair this anymore because I've already tried and we've verified that the joysticks, while they are faulty, they are not indicative of the real problem, because even with the new joysticks, it will still drift to the right when I reset it to default settings like this. as you can see, it still goes to the top right, even though I'm not touching the sticks. So at this point, I think this is a failure video. This is really disheartening for me, especially because this is my first video on YouTube, and I kind of wanted to bring some positive news and show how it was done. But unfortunately, the economics and the faulty joysticks from eBay didn't make that possible. And now I am holding something that is actually faulty, not because of the fault of joysticks, but actually from the mainboard inside itself. Before you attempt to do anything like this, try calculating the amount that you're willing to spend on repairing a controller. And obviously, as you saw with this video, I wasted my time because this Pro Controller is still not functional after the repair. At least I got a video out of it showing you what not to do, which is repair e-waste manufactured by Nintendo. Alright, that's it for this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.